Hi, I just wanted to give a walkthrough of how to link a Spektrum controller to the Movi Pro. So we have the AR8000 receiver here along with the satellite receiver. You want to connect the two using a Molex cable and then plug in the bind plug, which goes into the bind port at the bottom, and then power into one of the other pin. So you want to make sure you have the right polarity here, so it's negative, positive, and then data, left to right. And the cable can plug into any of them really. So once you do that, and make sure the voltage is between 3.5 and 9.5 volts. You go ahead and turn that on. You see they start blinking here, and then you take the controller, go down to System Setup, Bind, might have to do it second time. See that it binds to the receiver and then it becomes a solid orange light here. After that, you're good to disconnect the satellite. After that, you want to connect the Movi to Spektrum controller cable into the second COM port. Note that the first one is only for the Movi controller, and you should see the orange light turn on the satellite. Something else I forgot to mention is that prior to binding, you should select the model type, which should be airplane mode. In the other modes, it would have issues controlling the Movi Pro. You can also go ahead into model name and name it whatever you like. And then after that, the Movi should work properly with the controller. So some of the additional features that you can do is assign some of these additional buttons to do different features, and I'll show you that next. To make sure the controller works properly and that the joysticks do the right thing, you want to go back to the system setup and go down to channel assign. It should look something like this. You will have to flip over the throttle to the elevator and then the elevator to the throttle. And additionally, here's what the next menu would look like. Now the way we control the Movi, the right joystick should pan left and right and then tilt up and down. The left one here controls the speed of the pan, so higher up would be a faster pan and then lower down would be a much slower pan. This knob up here controls the speed of the tilt. So if you have it up high, it's going to do a very fast tilt. And if you bring it down very low, it's going to have a much slower tilt here. Now, one of the additional features you can add is assigning additional buttons to do different features. So I've assigned this button and this button, rather switch, to lock off the tilt and the roll. So this controller, aside from just controlling pan speed, also controls roll on the Movi, and sometimes that can get in the way. So I've assigned this switch. When you lock it down, it will not go ahead and roll. So if I want to go ahead and pan around and also change the speed while I'm doing that, it's not going to bump the roll at all. Additionally, this switch right here, I did the same thing. If you flip that, it won't tilt the camera. So that's great when you just want to do pan moves and nothing else. Alternately, you can also go ahead and tilt the camera all the way down if you wanted to, and then after that, lock it to where it is and allow it to tilt. So this is good for like 360 moves where you don't want to accidentally tilt up. To set up those two custom switches, you want to go ahead and go to the controller again and go to mixing. After that, you'll see that you have a couple of options here. First two you can leave alone, and for the mix one, you put throttle to throttle. The way you do that is just should be by default on inhibit. Set it to throttle on both, and then you set the rate to -100. Keep the offset at 0, switch the trim to act, and then choose the switch you want. This 0 and 1 just indicates the position of the switch and what it would do. So this one's switch A, which is the first one that I had set to the tilt lock. So it should allow me to flip the tilt. Now the second one is mix 2, and I use that to lock off roll, which is assigned to rudder. So rudder to rudder again here, and then once again the rate -100, offset 0, act, and then choose the switch you want. So that one's on here, so that allows me to lock off the roll here, which is pretty useful. One more feature of the controller is this switch right here. Has 3 positions, and in the top mode it has full control over the remote. The middle position will be just majestic, no remote control here. And then the bottom switch basically kills all the motors and allows you to flip a lens or just for safety. The last thing you want to do is turn off the alarm feature on it. Say you're using the gimbal for an interview and then you're not touching the remote for a while. You want to make sure the alarm doesn't go off during that. So you once again go back down to System Setup, go down to System Settings, bring the alarm voltage to basically the lowest one. You'll know your remote's going to die before then. And then also go to Center Tone and make sure that's on Inhibit. Going back to the main menu, if you click back, it toggles the volume. You just want to make sure that's all the way down as well, and you won't have an issue there. So that's basically all for setting up the Spektrum controller to work with the Movi Pro.